Welcome back, guys, to part 3 of getting this basement vanity installed. So in part 1 we did the base cabinet install, gave you some tips on that as well as design of your initial bathroom if you got the privilege of doing that. And then in part 2 we did the walnut countertop, and then this is part 3. So make sure you check out those other videos first so you can follow along. And then in part 3 that we're doing right now is going to be for the tile backsplash here. I'll walk you through the process of installing that. And although that's straightforward, I will show you a few tips on installing this Schluter. Now there's many different manufacturers for it, but it's basically an L-shaped trim that really gives you a really professional finish at the top of your tile and finishes off that edge really nicely. And can be sort of challenging to juggle the trim and the tile at the same time, but I'll show you a few tips in this video on how to make that super simple for yourself. So hope you guys enjoy, and we'll get right into it. Alright guys, so I'm just in the process of getting the countertop and sink installed, and I'm also going to be doing a backsplash. So just wanted to show you a couple of tips as far as things you can consider when going about this. The first here is that I've got a clamp going through the drain hole and then coming up to this board, and then I've got it supported. I've got just 2 microfibers here so that I'm not scratching the countertop. And so I put quite a bit of silicone around and then got this into position. There are mechanical fasteners coming in from the bottom sides and the screws into the countertop. However, just to make sure nothing moves, nothing gets out of place while everything sort of cures and the silicone sets up, I have gone and put a clamp through. So with these Irwin quick clamps and a lot of the other quick clamps, the ends you can actually take off, and so there's a screw right here. So if you undo this, this whole bottom piece comes off, and so you can put the clamp through, then reattach your end, and then apply clamping pressure. So that's holding that all up. Now I do have the mechanical fasteners here and here, and a couple on the back side as well, but just wanted to be extra sure. It really sucks at this part of the project if you have something go out of alignment. The next tip that I wanted to show you was when you're doing your Schluter, or any of the aluminum trim. I guess Schluter is more of a brand name, but any of the trim that you're going to put around the tile really makes for a clean look, but you are going to get little burrs and stuff like that when you cut it on your miter saw, or I use my miter saw to do it. Do not do what I did and use your nicest fine cut saw blade. I learned that the hard way. That will kill it, and it does make it quite dull, so I got to go sharpen that again now, but we'll get through all of this tile work before that. So just to get off this burr, you can sand it, but if you just come in with a knife and just drag the blade kind of across it a couple times, you can get that really nice. And does a pretty quick job of it. I'm probably overdoing it for what I need to do, but that will keep your edge nice and sharp. If you get in with sandpaper, it's pretty easy to round off this miter or scratch the finished surface, but the X-Acto knife does a really nice job of it. Here, I got a bit bigger of a burr on it. Again, this cleans it up really quick and nice. Here's another tip, when you're installing aluminum trim, you can just use regular staples, like a heavy-duty staple gun like this. So you can place the staples carefully, and you can pre-fasten just loosely, like this will all move a bit. But that gets that secured and up out of the way. And you can check and make sure all your miters are nice and tight. And then that way when you're putting your tile on, you don't have to be juggling and having forearms to do everything. Alright, so now to get on to setting your tiles. Now the best way that I've found to do this for a backsplash or any of these small tiles is to actually apply the thin set directly to the tile rather than to the wall. Another thing that will make the tiling of backsplash significantly easier is if you pre-cut all of your tiles. So I've pre-cut these all to length, and that just allows you to go straight to the mortar, and you know, your time actually installing is significantly reduced rather than, you know, going outside or trying to cut tiles as you go. And then once you get all the tiles on, you just want to come back with a wet cloth and wipe off any thin set that you might have gotten on the tiles from your hands, or any squeeze out between that and the schluter. And we're moving on to grouting. So with the grout, I haven't really found a really nice way of doing this. This is kind of a little bit slow going. But typically you can start, for backsplashes, you can start grouting you know, 5 hours or so after you've applied the tile. You don't want to do it on floors that quickly because you'd be walking on the tiles in order to do it. But in these wall applications and that sort of thing, you aren't going to be putting that much pressure on the tiles. So the fact that the thin set is still curing behind the tiles is okay. And so I just used a sort of a Bondo or a body filler spreader to get it into all these small areas, because really here I'm not applying a lot of volume of the product. It's just kind of getting it into all the little corners. Now up against the wall here, the schluter does make, or is very, very straight, and so you can see on the left here, there is a little bit of a shadow gap there where you see this sort of dark line. Now that's only maybe 0.5 millimeter wide, but if you do go in and get some sort of wetter grout, you can work that into that small little gap, and you won't have that black shadow line. You'll just have this really fine line of grout, and I think that leads to a much nicer result. So once you've got all of this sort of squeaked into all of the little corners and gaps and crevices, you can kind of go back to where you started and start sponging it off. Now with this, you want to make sure that you keep a very clean sponge so you're not spreading your mess further, and you want it damp. You really want to wring out all of the water the best you can. And then just keep going over the areas. You don't want to remove too much material, so keep an eye on it. But you do want to make sure that everything is nice and clean, and that you're not leaving any excess grout on the tile or on the aluminum trim, as it'll be very hard to get off after. Once you've got everything off that you can with the sponge, then you want to work on polishing everything with a microfiber towel and getting that last little bit of residue off, especially when you're looking at the aluminum trim and the tile face itself. Now once you've done that, you can come back the next day when the grout is nice and clean and apply some silicone. In my application here, I'm using a semi-transparent or semi-translucent silicone, which I think works well, blending sort of the walnut color with the tile. Thanks guys for tuning in to part 3 of the bathroom vanity build. I will have the final sort of door installation and that sort of thing coming up in future episodes. I do have something quite custom coming up for the doors, and that's going to take me a little bit of time, so I've got a couple other projects that I get to before I tackle the doors. There is some very special finish that I'm going to be using for that, and that's going to require a bunch of prep, so I do want to get a few other of the dustier projects out of the way in the shop before I start working on doing that specialty finish, and so I will be holding off a little bit on doing that. I've got the bar to finish up, so I'll be working on the countertop for the bar, and then all of the doors and closeout panels and that sort of thing I will be working on. So there will be a part 4 to this, but there will be a bit of a delay between now and then when I get that video out. So thanks for staying tuned, and please check out the other videos on my channel. I'll cover everything from this light installation to smoke and fire alarm installations, heated floor, tiling, all sorts of stuff. So if you are doing some home renovations yourself and are looking for some tips and tricks and even just ideas for what to do, I've got a lot of content up on my channel in regards to that. So thanks guys, and we'll see you in the next one.